Good evening, everyone. Hello, and welcome again to Endo Crusaders. I
Good
have
evening.
been missing you all so much. So, with me, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we couldn't do a session. It was
Welcome back.
terrible, right?
All
uh,
our viewers are missing you.
I was missing coming here, and so sorry about rescheduling this session and delaying it for such a long time. But thanks to all the good wishes, my husband is doing pretty well now. He's recovering and almost on his feet. Yeah.
That's
So
very good.
I
Very nice.
thank you so much. And I was so touched with so many messages that I kept getting, from all of you. It feels so loved. Thank you so much. I'm like eternally grateful. So now let's begin this session. As someone aptly said, I think the hardest part about being a teenager is dealing with other teenagers. The criticism, the ridicule, the gossip, and the rumors. Teenage life, years between 13 to 19, 19 years of age, is extremely crucial for children as well as their parents. I'm sure parents would agree with me. Having teenage children is like having something really, really big at your place. So everyone has his or her memories of teenage life, good, be it not so good, but they hold it very close to their heart. There's a lot of peer pressure that they need to cope up with. There is social pressure and a lot of other things happening in their lives, which in any ways is not easy. They have to keep up with the pace, and it is just not simple for teens with period pains, specifically with period pains that are so unbearable to actually cope up with all these things. Imagine a time where these children should be carefree and should be enjoying life. Things are not as simple for girls having so excruciating period pains that they just cannot attend school. So today we are here. I and Dr. Bimi are here to discuss about what is normal and what is not normal in period pains, especially in teenagers. So Bimi, what do you think? Can you tell our viewers, do teenage girls have endometriosis?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Shilpa.
Hi,
Uh,
Bimi.
Shilpa, endometriosis does not spare any age group. So people do think that it does not affect the adolescent girls and menopausal women. But it is absolutely wrong, and it affects teenage girls equally, the middle-aged women, and it also happens in menopausal women when they stop menstruating also.
Oh,
Now, most of the women who are coming to us, their main complaint is that their period pain started since the menarche. When they
okay.
started having their periods, they had period pain, but nobody addressed it. Nobody listened to them, or they said it is normal, you have to deal with it. I had it, my mother had it, so it's absolutely normal. So, most of these women, 90% of these women, those who have painful periods, that amounts to 50 to 60% of endometriosis patients, there, if we take their proper history, the pain had started somewhere in the teenage group. So we see all varieties of endometriosis in teenage groups, from early to subtle lesions to even advanced endometriosis and deep infiltrating endometriosis. So it very much affects them, and pelvic pain in teenage group is absolutely not normal.
All right. I can completely understand. It takes efforts for children to keep justifying yourself to your family and to your friends to just get that validation that your pain is just not in your mind. It is so difficult for kids to go through it. So, Vimi, what are the general symptoms somebody has to look for, in case a girl is going through some problem? What are the main symptoms that you generally come across?
Most common symptom, I would just say what is endometriosis first for
Hmm.
our new viewers also. Endometriosis is
Hmm.
basically implantation of endometrial like lining outside the uterus. It can affect the ovaries, peritoneum. It can happen anywhere in the body, but most common sites are the pelvic sites. But extra pelvic sites are also not so uncommon.
Hmm.
Most common symptom is pelvic pain. or which is called as dysmenorrhea in the medical terminology, the painful periods.
Hmm.
These painful periods, basically mild discomfort can be normal, but any pain which interferes with your routine activities, a girl misses her school, she can't involve herself in sports activities, and she does not get better when she takes simple painkillers. So that is absolutely not normal. She may have other symptoms as well, like difficulty in passing motion. Some girls may have diarrhea, some may have constipation. Fatigue is also a common symptom. Sometimes they also have concomitant adenomyosis. The uterus becomes enlarged. So it puts pressure on the bowel as well as the bladder. So they may have urgency, frequency during periods. They may have painful urination also. And other symptoms arising because of the chronic pain, anxiety, depression, their mood changes, and the symptoms are almost same as the middle-aged women who presents to us with pelvic pain and dysmenorrhea. So any of these is a spectrum of symptoms. They may present with any of these symptoms. So we have to notice if they have pain and they are not able to do routine activities. Definitely, it should be addressed at the earliest.
Makes sense. I know a lot of girls go through these issues, but they when they come to a doctor, or even for that matter, doctor, a lot of doctors also dismiss their symptoms. Like pain is something which is normal. It's something normal for a girl to have period pains. But what happens when their symptoms are dismissed over and over again?
This is a very, very, very common problem that they are not, their symptoms are not addressed or they are dismissed. Whatever they say, they are being told that this is in their head, or what they are saying is to avoid some kind of activities or to avoid school or to avoid college. She does not want to appear for the exam. So all these also comes up when these girls complain this thing repeatedly. But we need to understand that if she's saying something is not normal with her body, so definitely there is something wrong. And this young girl may think that the incapacitating symptoms are normal and she has to live with it. And she also starts comparing herself with others, that if it is normal, why can't I handle it? That means I am abnormal. And this feeling and misconception gets deepened further by ill-informed people who tell her that painful period is normal, do exercise, it will become better, don't behave like a kid, it's your period, your mother and grandmother had the same pain, so don't worry. And also leads to a vicious circle of going to doctors, and they are given painkillers. Doctors also tell them that everything is fine, because the lesions of this endometriosis, early endometriosis, may be so subtle that they cannot be picked up on any of the imaging. So they are being told that your reports are normal, everything is fine with you, so it's absolutely normal and don't behave like a small child. You need not complain so much, they are also being told. And if nothing helps, then they are being introduced to the word of analgesics, oral contraceptive pills, and a whole lot of hormones. And ultimately, in the later years, when she can conceive, she comes to us with advanced disease when already the damage is being done. So this has a lot of psychological impact. Recently, I had a girl who came to me without telling her parents actually, that because she had already gone to 7 to 8 doctors and everybody told her that it's absolutely normal, you don't have any problem. Her main symptom was pelvic pain, and for hours together she sits in the washroom and she can't pass motion.
Oh God.
And she keeps telling that there is a problem, and she told me herself that it's my body, I can understand it better. And really, on MRI, we could find the lesions which were near her uterosacrals, which was the cause of obstruction, and that resulted in constipation. And later, she brought her parents, and then we discussed with them that there is a problem. So this is happening quite frequently, and this needs to be addressed so that the psychological state of these young patients and young girls can be improved and their energies can be channelized in a better way, which is being hampered by this pelvic pain.
It is so sad to actually see kids go through all of this, and it's painful. It's painful because imagine the kind of a psychological impact this kind of a behavior towards the child would create, you know. So in such cases, I think the child starts losing self confidence, and also they become more rebellious as no one trusts them, you know.
Yes.
So I think parents, the teachers, the society per se needs to trust when the child is telling that there is pain. If there is pain, there is pain, period. You need to accept it and work towards getting things better for that child. So my next question is, all right, there are symptoms, parents understand that there is something wrong, so they get the child to the doctor. So how
Yes.
is it that a teenage endometriosis diagnosed? Is there something specific?
First of all, listening to them solves half of the problem. If we listen to them carefully and take their proper history, we can diagnose endometriosis in most of the patients. And first of all, please do not dismiss them.
Correct.
Second is, if they have advanced disease or they have ovarian cysts, that can be easily picked up on ultrasound. But in most of the teenage girls, they may have very early peritoneal lesions and lesions which cannot be detected on ultrasound. Some of the peritoneal lesions can be picked up on MRI.
Correct.
And even if we don't find anything on ultrasound or MRI, laparoscopy is the gold standard, and that can detect abnormal areas and early subtle lesions which can be excised, and she can have pain-free life.
All right. So as we have been always emphasizing on laparoscopic diagnosis, laparoscopy is a gold standard when it comes to endometriosis. If nothing picks it up, laparoscopy is the only thing that you have to get into. So other than period pains, do they have any other symptoms?
Yes, Shilpa, as I already mentioned that they can have bowel symptoms, they can have bladder symptoms. Sometimes some girls have constipation. Painful bowel movements is the most common complaints they have. Second is the constipation. Bladder, they can have dysuria, painful urination, urgency, frequency can be there.
Hmm.
Among the other general symptoms is fatigue, depression, anxiety. They feel helpless sometimes.
Hmm.
And because of this, they have mood changes, performance is not good. And this is basically all are the consequences of being dismissed and not listening to their symptoms and not solving their problem. The physical symptoms are same as any other endometriosis patient can have. Wherever the site of the lesions are, it will affect that site, and most common are the painful periods, pelvic pain, back pain, and bowel movements, painful bowel movements.
It must be so painful. I mean, I can relate to it. It must be so painful for a child to go through so much at such a tender age. Imagine a time when most of the children are bursting with energy. You are the one who is like suffering, who is like having pain throughout, or if not pain, you are so fatigued throughout that you really don't want to do anything. So
True.
it creates so much of a mental strain. So I wanted to check what, as a society or as people around you, like your parents or your teachers or your friends, what is it that they can do, for people, for children with endometriosis?
For parents, we would advise that they should have first of all, they have to believe their child. If
Correct.
she is telling them something that there is something wrong with her body, believe her first because you are the first point of contact. If you don't believe her, who else will believe them?
Correct.
If you only dismiss them, then that's very difficult for anyone else to believe them. Second is if their child is having painful periods, they should themselves get first information about the pelvic pain, why it happens, and what can be the possible causes for this. Endometriosis is one of the pelvic pain causes, but there can be some other pathologies as well. And help them, support them to cope up with the pain. Also, because it affects their emotional thought process. If they are not supported at this time, they may think that the whole life they have to suffer like this. They should help them to develop a support team. Like they should find a good gynecologist who can address these symptoms, physiotherapist, pain management specialist, dietitian, counselor. There is a big team of endometriosis treatment which we follow. So they should try to get in contact with such team which can help their child. They should also try to shift the focus away from pain. It may be a little difficult for the child, but this is how they can help them cope up with the pain during those days. And they should have a plan to deal with the bad pain day. And as a school, they should have basically a nurse or a counselor or an educator who can deal with these children and counsel them. And if they are missing school or they're not coming for exams or regularly missing schools on the period days, they should get in touch with their parents. And if parents are not doing something, at least they should tell them to. They should educate them that painful periods are not normal. Please do something or get in touch with these doctors and get it sorted out. And
Correct.
this is very, very important because school should not leave it completely to the parents. Sometimes parents may be aggressive, sometimes they may not be. So if both of them work together, maybe we can help these children and they can have a pain-free life again.
That's absolutely true. And what I realize is identifying the problem is the first step towards getting better life for these children. So first and
Yes.
foremost, accept that there is some problem, and then take help. So when these children come with endometriosis, what treatment is suggested for them? I mean, I know there are some medical and some surgical treatments. What kind of treatments are suggested to them?
Shilpa, here the treatment would differ a little bit from the middle age group, where directly we say excision is the best treatment.
Correct.
Adolescent, we have to evaluate them, and suppose there are no lesions at all on ultrasound or MRI, and my sonologist has told me that she could not see any lesions, then definitely laparoscopy is the best one. But I would try first some NSAIDs and painkillers for her. If that helps her, very good. Otherwise, oral contraceptive pills or some kind of hormonal therapy if it helps her. Because what happens is if we do it too early, then the lesions may not have developed so well that even we could identify them.
Correct.
So
Correct.
suppose a girl has started painful periods at 11, 12 years of age and her pain subsides with these medications, then definitely I would wait for a few years for those lesions to develop fully, and then I would plan laparoscopy. But if girl is not responding to this medical treatment, then there is no second choice. Then laparoscopy is the first choice, definitely. No compromise on that. But first, for these girls where there are ovarian cysts, well-developed disease, no problem. They will go directly for laparoscopic excision surgery. But lesions are not there and very young girl, I would first try medical therapy and I would wait for some time so that lesions develop fully and then remove them and excise them completely.
Completely makes sense. I mean, it really depends on what stage and how the lesion is. So, at what age generally laparoscopy is advised for them?
As I said, there is no hard and fast rule what age, because suppose a young girl with big ovarian cyst comes to me, definitely she will be for laparoscopy. We have to remove the cyst and do the excision surgery for them. But if the lesions are very subtle, then I might wait for some time before I take her for laparoscopy.
It must be like a very tough decision to take, I'm sure, sending a child.
For parents as well as the doctor.
Absolutely. I can imagine it. That's the worst thing about having endometriosis, because there is nothing else but a surgery which eventually has to be done.
Yeah.
So how often do you see advanced endometriosis in adolescent girls?
So adolescent girl also have a complete spectrum of disease. Some girls may have very early lesions and some may have advanced disease, including ovarian cyst and deep infiltrating endometriosis also. Definitely the
Hmm.
percentage is a little less than the middle age group, but they have all a spectrum of disease. We see stage 4 disease also in adolescents. Although a little rare than the middle age group, but we do see quite often. And most of these middle-aged group who present with the stage 4 disease are these teenagers whose surgery was not done when they really needed it.
Okay.
So they develop the advanced disease, and by the time they are operated, the damage is already done.
Hmm.
Their fertility is compromised, their ovarian reserve comes down, and they have they have already suffered 10 to 15 years of pain. So we have to address it at the earliest, and they should seek a specialist help if painful periods are there or they can't do routine activities. And definitely, there are some other things which we can tell them to do. They should keep themselves active, which reduces their muscle spasms. Gentle
Correct.
exercises such as walking, stretching. We also advise physiotherapy to help them relax pelvic muscles, as tightening the pelvic muscle increases pain.
Correct.
Now, improving diet. We also include anti-inflammatory diet and to avoid constipation. Drink plenty of water. These all are the measures which we can take when immediately we are not doing any surgery. How to cope up with the pain and when they are on medication. So if they include anti-inflammatory diet, drink plenty of water, definitely they can avoid constipation. Let them involve themselves in a hobby, help them distract from the symptoms. Meditation, breathing exercises help, and some alternative therapies such as acupuncture also helps in some of the young girls. This is
Absolutely.
all I'm telling. This see, every one size does not fit for all, as we say for endometriosis. So every girl, every patient is different. This is where we are postponing the surgery, or we are not immediately doing it, or they have good relief with the medical therapy. They can
Correct.
also these changes in lifestyle will help them cope up with their symptoms a lot.
Absolutely. So as we have always been saying that there has to be a holistic approach, overall you have to take care of everything to cope up with endometriosis. It's not just about one thing, because at the end of it, we know it is the surgery which is the treatment, or it is the surgery which is a gold standard when it comes to endometriosis. But saying that, all these therapies, alternate therapies, the food, the diet, the meditation, everything which involves the overall healing is something which will help a person heal from within, and probably which will help a person cope up with pain. Actually, it's a pain coping up mechanism. That's all that probably we can say. So, Vimi, do you think that the family per se needs counseling to understand how to cope up with this particular situation? Because I know it's not easy for the family either, you know, when the child is going through it.
It's very hard for them to accept that a young child is having some issue, and that too, if it involves her ovaries and uterus and all, it's a great emotional turmoil for them.
Correct.
First of all, as we have already told that they should not dismiss their child symptoms. They should listen to them to keep her psychological or emotional feelings intact. So they
Correct.
have to be counseled. They need to be taught that pelvic pain is not normal, because through ages we have listened, we have been through this, and pain is normal. Get married, have a child, everything will be fine. So this is all is going the rounds in the cultures and societies, which is very difficult to erase from their minds. We need to teach them, we need to involve them in the care, and they really need to get involved with their child, how they can help them, and get a specialist care. Sometimes doctors also dismiss their symptoms, and they tell them that it is absolutely fine, go home, nothing will happen. Maybe she doesn't want to go to school, that's why she's doing this. So all that should not be considered if your child is really telling you that there is something wrong. As a clinician, I would advise that try to get the diagnosis early. If pain is severe, endometriosis should be considered a possible diagnosis, and do not tell them that it happens, it's normal, you are overreacting. Because if it is endometriosis, it can be corrected surgically and she can have a pain free life. Trained
Absolutely.
incision surgeons who can completely recognize the disease and remove it can reduce the recurrence rates. There are some abnormal areas. Sometimes they don't exactly look like endometriosis, Shilpa, but we remove
Yeah.
them and pathology proves it that it is endometriosis. They can see the endometrial glands and stroma in that. We have removed those tissue and the pathology proves it that they were endometriotic tissue. So it's very important that they go to the person who is trained in excising the disease completely.
Mm.
And if a complete excision is done, post-operative pain relief is miraculous. She even thinks that she has got a new life. Menstrual cramps and ovulatory pain may persist, and she can manage them. And it will be definitely different from the pre-operative pain she had. And
Oh,
when
I
these
completely
girls,
understand.
yeah, when these young girls are free from chronic pain, their healthy state of mind returns, and their productivity doubles. Their focus changes and they start valuing their worth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Imagine staying in pain 24 by 7, 365 days a year. Imagine the kind of an impact that will have on you mentally, you know. And when we have seen that surgery does make so much of difference in a person, why not? It's just to give a better life to to the girl who is suffering. So what I would want to tell everyone is teenage years are the years that you are known for being very rebellious towards authority figures, your parents, your instructors, your teachers. Some common terms which are associated with teenagers like anger, trouble, rebellion. But trust me, it is more about more than just being rebellious. These are also the years where these young girls and boys, for that matter, are finding their own voices for themselves. Like most things precious, this is one's own search for their identity, and it takes time. So all I would want to tell the children, if at all your teenage children are watching this, trust yourself and believe in yourself and find somebody who trusts you. Be it your parents, your teachers, or your friends. Confide in somebody who believes what you're saying. And if you are having pain, you are having pain. So you just have to go and take some help. And trust me, you're going to be fine. It is not a lifelong disease, which you have to go through. So that's all for today. I think we have had some comments. Okay. Hi, Aarti. So nice to have you here, and I'm so glad to be back. Uh, yeah. Mom is saying that it's so good to see you both after such a long time. Same here, same here. So Aarti says, "Oh my God, that's crazy! Thank God she came to see you, Dr. Vimmi, and found what you did. It's appalling how teenagers are dismissed, thus leading to mental health issues, and unfortunately, sometimes leads to unfortunate circumstances too." Absolutely, completely agree. And Vimmi, you're doing a good job in helping girls get rid of their pain. Z Zahra says, "I had to go through multiple NSIDs until my stomach lining thinned. Oh God." Okay.
Mm.
Aarti also says, would different period coloring indicate any sort of menstrual health issues leading to endometriosis too? And if so, what should they know about it? Because we know that if endo is caught early, then it can be totally life changing. But at least if the teenage girl knows this, then it would be helpful, especially if they are being dismissed. Mimi,
I I missed it. Yeah,
would different period coloring indicate any sort of menstrual health issues?
different period coloring leading to
The color
endometriosis.
of the color of the period blood. Yeah.
What early then it can be totally what it is 15 years old. Actually speaking, color does not indicate something like that, but the pattern of bleeding is important. Like how many days you bleed, is it heavy bleeding or not? Like heavy bleeding with painful periods can be an indication of early adenomyosis. Persistent spotting can be one of the symptoms of endometriosis, postmenstrual spotting. Color of blood, if you're bleeding for 2 to 7 days, usually per se color of blood does not indicate anything. But the amount of bleeding, association with the pain, and prolonged postmenstrual or premenstrual spotting can help us diagnosing some of the gynecological issues.
All right.
Hmm.
The high school nurse.
One of the girls has mentioned that she was being treated for PCOS. So most of these girls, when they don't find anything, they start telling that you have PCOS. Now for PCOS, I would like to tell our viewers that every ultrasound center and every ultrasound report, they are writing polycystic ovaries.
True.
Now there is a certain criteria where the polycystic ovary can be written. Okay, there is a number of follicles which they should count, and that follicle should be there is a size. They should measure that. They should count those antral follicle, and then in both the ovaries, if the volume is more than 10 cubic centimeter, then only we call it PCO. For my today, I tell you, if I see 20 women with the ultrasound report, 18 women will have PCO. But that does not fit the criteria. So PCO has a criteria which we have to follow, and every girl is not PCO. When these young girls go to the doctors and they are being treated for PCO for years together before the actual diagnosis is made. I think Manasi has mentioned that I have been diagnosed with PCOS. But PCOS is absolutely a different entity, and most of my endometriosis patients, they give this history that endometriosis was not picked up and they were being treated for PCOS for many, many years together.
Absolutely. I was treated for PCOS for, I think, 5 years, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 5 years at least, from what I remember, though I think I never had PCOS. So, but then these are some things which are like extremely common. This keeps happening with people, with girls with endometriosis. And that's the reason why we are doing these sessions, to increase awareness that it is just not PCOS. It might be a lot of other things that are there. So that's all for today. And I'm so glad we did this session with me. This was long pending.
Long time. Even I was missing.
Yeah, this was long pending, and we actually were wanting to do the session for a long time. So thank you, everyone.
We'll be back with a session on adenomyosis.
Yes, we will be doing a session on adenomyosis. This is Adenomyosis Awareness Month. So we will be coming up with a session on that. In case you have any questions on adenomyosis or the session that we took right away, you can please ping us. You can drop in on Facebook, or anyone who has our numbers can probably WhatsApp me. I do get a lot of WhatsApp messages. So in case there is something, then probably you can. So thank you all for joining us today, and thanks to everyone who would watch this recording later. Thank you for all the support. Yes. Some questions?
How would you advise patients who always argue, afraid that painkillers will harm kidney, liver, despite not having any history of illnesses with those organs? So if common painkillers or NSAIDs being taken for 2 to 3 days during the periods, once in a month, and you don't have any known kidney or liver disorder, do not hesitate to take them.
Yeah,
for my they do help, and they are the first line of treatment. So there is no, sometimes girls do get relief taking one mefenamic acid, but their mothers tell them that don't take it, it will cause infertility. So these are also myths.
Also, they say that if you take one painkiller now, the next cycle you will have more pain. I mean, how ridiculous that can be, I don't know. I don't understand.
These are all myths which are very prevalent in the society, and we are trying our best to get the justification for this. So if you take painkillers for 1 or 2 days and that gives you good pain relief, you can do your routine activities and not hampering with your any of the activities. There is no harm taking it if you don't have any liver or kidney diseases.
Absolutely.
But if you're every day, whole cycle, absolutely that's not normal. You need to see a doctor then.
Oh, ask me. I used to take 4 painkillers every day. for 5 days during the period, 2 days before the period because of the PMS, and 4 days after the period because of the post-menstrual problems. So, and the doctor still couldn't believe. Anyways, that's a different story altogether. Thank you so much, everyone. I think we could answer most of the questions, and in case there's something else, we would surely put in on the group. So thanks, everyone, and have a lovely evening ahead. Thanks, Vimi.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, bye-bye. Have a lovely evening ahead.